Hi, this is Suzume. I'm here to talk about some of my prediction and some of the info dump that I found across the internet, and also my own knowledge in the Final Fantasy franchise, and I just really want to share with you guys. Um, really excited about Endwalker. I mean, if you have not seen my previous reaction video, please go check it out. But do lower the volume because I kind of went full bimbo mode on that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of like play the teaser again and just kind of like pause and point out what kind of information I find really interesting about everything I've seen so far. Oh yeah, by the way, have you seen Lee's in the thumbnail of the video? It's not a clickbait. I will get to that in a moment. So let's start from the beginning. What I found immediately very striking and interesting to me is the Nick shot, which makes your character looks like an Asian, which is actually kind of true in a sense. You're the last survivor member of the Convocation, and the reason why Convocation was created is because they want to summon Zodiac to save the world from the last day of Emerald, and effectively, you're pretty much the kind of the last hope of saving the world from the second coming of the last day. So that shot itself actually have a lot of meaning behind that. Now this might be me thinking a bit too much, but you can see that the fire is spreading from outside into Eorzea first. If I'm not mistaken, all the way over here, that's the Far East. And that's actually going to get into the least part that I mentioned earlier. I believe that the Far East, Doma, might fall to the last day first, and then it will spread to Eorzea. And also, you see, Garlemald has been looking like, I don't know, like more, like a better demonic than like usual. And which also tied in something else I'm going to talk about when we get there in the teaser. Now, I have some discussions with people saying that the voice that's speaking right now could be Emmett Selk. I believe this voice right now, it's La Habrea. And there's a lot of clue behind that. The first big clue is during the presentation where they announced that the next endgame raid involves La Habrea. So they're trying to bring back La Habrea in certain ways that, well, I don't know. We don't know yet. Notice the creature is also something that you encountered in the dungeon Amorat, which is the last dungeon in 5.0, where Emitsuke illustrate what the last of Emerald looks like. So this is literally the second coming of the final days. And also pointing out that the Alphinaud coming in as Sage, the new job, which was announced during the presentation. What's really fun about that is it's definitely a big influence from Gundam, in my opinion. And another significance in that is the job Sage. Sage, so far, is the only job from Final Fantasy IV that is not in this game yet. So that's another big thing, big hint that this expansion is going to be paying a lot of homage and respect to Final Fantasy IV. But as in the weapon that the Sage is using, I don't think anybody could have guessed that. Okay, that's Fandania. I find it odd that nobody had mentioned this yet. He has a change of outfit. His Asian robe, it's not white, it's not black, is red. I don't think we have seen a red Asian coat before. So I think that is really cool, and I wonder what that is going to mean. Now, next shot here. This I pause the shot here. You notice that over here. That is most possibly going to be Xeno's new weapon. Looks like a scythe, and I believe that's also a small clue to what the next melee DPS job is going to be. Now, people say it's Necromancer. I had different theory about that. I think there's a 50-50 chance that it's going to be a Necromancer. But also, I believe it might be like a Final Fantasy XIV original job. Maybe Reaper. I've seen somebody mention that such a job exists in the Final Fantasy Zero universe. I don't know too much about Zero, honestly. So, but what I know about that is you kind of like use the site to collect some sort of like a negative energy from your enemy. And also in the recent Game Watch interview with Yoshi Pete right after the showcase, they said that the new DPS job is going to use Dragoon armor, the maiming set. Perfect for me because I am a Dragoon main. Okay, and like I brought earlier, I believe that when the full trailer is released, Elidibus is going to be there as well, voicing in this trailer. And for me, that's definitely have a very high emotional impact. Um, because they are the last three. Well, they were the last three surviving Unsunder ASEAN. They were there in the beginning when the convocation was formed. So it's them coming back to voice for this trailer, kind of like they're entrusting their legacy, their hope, and hoping their plan would work onto you, the main character, who's currently holding the last seat of the convocation. And if you look around the environment, it matches the artwork they show in the presentation. Um, and judging by how Van Daniel ride up the elevator to the castle, and in the beginning of the trailer, where in the map over here, I'm pretty sure that it's pretty much the tower that's controlling all other small towers across the world right now. When you think about it, if that is the case, how come you can just walk right in? Now, by that I mean, Galamod is definitely not going to be the last area for two reasons, right? One is, well, we're going to the moon. I'm pretty sure moon is going to be the last area. But second is, if it was the last area, I don't think they would have shown artwork of that area this early on. So why am I bringing this up? Well, that means that they probably no longer have any use for that tower, meaning that the plan to recreate the final days by Fandanio most likely worked. It has already worked. This is not a story about preventing the final days from happening. This is a story about the final days has happened already, and we are trying to turn the tide of the final days. Now, if you look a little bit closer here, you see a little well there. I wonder what that means. Is it the Bismarck? I don't know. Maybe? Maybe it's something else? We'll see. Now, it's clear that the poster boy job is Paladin. This expansion is going to show a lot of love to 4. For those people, for the people who have not played 4, in the final part, well, I want to say at least the last part of the story is about going to Moon, and the main character was a Dark Knight, and then he changed into a Paladin. Kane, who's pretty much the most famous Dragoon in the Final Fantasy franchise, they both go to the moon together, and they mentioned that the new melee DPS character in the trust system is Estinian. So Dragoon and Paladin going to the moon. That is so much love being shown to Final Fantasy IV. And I'm just really happy for the fans, the longtime fans of 4. This is just really exciting. I mentioned in my last video in a comment that that it could be Void Ark, but then I look into the architect of Void Ark. I'm not too sure anymore. It doesn't look like it's the same. But at the same time, I don't see this, like the architecture of this ship in the logo doesn't look like an elegant like aesthetic or technology. Honestly, I don't really have any like solid idea what that ship might be. It could be just kind of like out of thin air, but still kind of fit into lore. Um, Bart says that it looks like a tower. That could be too. We don't know. But it would be pretty cool if it was a tower, the whole time that, a building you're in is a giant spaceship, which is definitely a plot line that I've seen a lot of animes have used. And I don't mind it taking that idea, honestly. Arts is about borrowing a lot of elements from each other. I will totally buy that idea. Now, as for the moon, I don't want to look too much into it. It could be just an artist's choice of how to draw the logo. But at the same time, I see that there's a hole in there. And one big part about Final Fantasy IV is not just going to the moon, but also there is underground area, massive underground area. So could they be implementing those two things into one where you're going under like underground in the moon, or could it be an underground area back in Eorzea? We don't know, but definitely don't want to look too much into this logo when it comes to the moon. I could be just over interpreting it. Oh yeah, that's also one thing that I forgot to mention. So the song, the main theme of Endwalker, it sounds very optimistic and hopeful, doesn't it? Historically speaking, Masayoshi Soken and Koji Fox, who's the lead translator, who also wrote a lot of lyrics for a lot of songs in this game, worked very closely with the main senior writer of that expansion, and often create like just pretty much the perfect song, like perfect mood, um, and that hint of optimism, the feeling of hope in that song kind of inspire. Um, it's very interesting. I mean, like the world looks like it's ending, but why is it still so hopeful? I feel like it's just kind of like trying to interpret it like you're the last hope of the convocation. Trying to well, once again saving the world. And also a new dawn, as they say. So it's and they also mentioned that the story is going to end at 6.0. There's no more like 6.1, 6.2 to finish the story of this expansion. It's going to end right here and right now. Oh, by the way, notice the cat here? Super cute. Now, the architect and aesthetic is definitely inspired by Thailand. Really love it. They have really colorful aesthetic and architecture. The spiral on the top of the ceiling. I'm not sure what they're called, but it's definitely very striking and very beautiful. There's no mistaking this. Now, doesn't this looks like what was that called? Um, Kilika Island? Is that what it's called? Okay, yes, yeah. So it definitely looks a little bit like Kilika Island, in my opinion. We have seen a lot of items and lore here and there about Tafnir. Finally, we're able to see Tafnir, and I see the giant crystal in the back. I wonder if they were um not spared during the seventh Umbral Calamity. Perhaps will be able to see some of the aftermath of seventh Umbral Calamity even in Tafnir. Now, next up, we have Galamod. Now, that is the massive tower that is probably control all other small towers all around the world right now. It's very unfortunate. I really wanted to visit Galamod at its prime and really soak in their architects and technology, but looks like we won't get to see it. However, maybe as the patch goes on, it will slowly repair itself. By each major patch, you're going to see that the Galamod Empire start rebuilding itself, and perhaps see just a glimpse of the former glory of the Galamod Empire. Well, not in a way that is, conquering other nations, but just, in terms of aesthetic and the spirit and the technology of the empire. So, and it also matches the background, the second and last shots in the teaser. They were definitely Daniel and Xeno were definitely in Galamod. I mean, it's really depressing. Now, new tribe is called Matanga. Once again, elephant and Thailand, they pretty much go hand in hand together all the time. Um, and what's really interesting about it, according to lore books, Matanga and they don't like Aura. In fact, they hate Aura. um, for whatever reason. Matanga would invade Azim Step and kill Aura, and Aura just like, of course, they would have none of that and fight back and kill each other all the time. But Matanga always comes back. So I play as an Aura. So I don't know how well I'm going to be received when I go to Tafnir, or just the new area in general. That's gonna be interesting. Next we have Anima. Um, Telltale sign of how this expansion is definitely going to show some more love to Final Fantasy X. The only like really significant Final Fantasy X reference that this game has given in the Eden Ramu fight, where the background looks like the Thunder Plane, which is beautiful. But I also predict that there's going to be two phases of this fight. Remember when you used to limit break with Anima, and you sink in the deep, like underground, and you got punched to death? That's either going to be the transitional phase, definitely, or the second phase of the fight where you get synced in underground and fight the second half of Anima, which is going to be freaking amazing. But I also imagine that there's going to be a lot of instant death mechanic in this fight, and because back in Final Fantasy X, Anima's auto attack, normal attack, has the property of death. It instantly kills anything that doesn't have immunity to instant death. Um, that is not going to be pretty. Now, challenging new dungeon. I mean, it's kind of obvious. Like you can see that the statue there once again, very heavily influenced by Thailand's aesthetic, Thai aesthetic. Um, but also it's on fire. So I wonder if it's also the kind of like the same concept of like the first dungeon of Shadowbringers, Home Insert Switch, where the town's under attack and you're trying to save everybody. You go in. The Fire Days is coming even in this beautiful island. I look forward to it. I think this dungeon is going to be super epic. Home Insert Switch is my favorite dungeon in Shadowbringers, hands down, my favorite. I mean, it set the tone for the rest of the expansion so well, and I believe that if this is going to happen early on, it's going to have the same effect, and I'm loving this. I believe that that is going to be the dungeon in Galamod. I don't think it's going to be in the moon. Maybe it's in Galamod because it matches the aesthetic that you see in the teaser where Fandanio is. Probably storming the tower and trying to find them, and yeah, that's probably going to be that dungeon. So if they're showing an order, this is probably a level 75. I mean, there's no 75, 85. The last dungeon is probably 81. This is about 83, 85. So I'm pretty sure that you can get to go to Galamod pretty early into the game. Not too sure where this is. Probably underground facility of Galamod. And this is where you can you know what? Now that I think about it, maybe the ship is of Galamod technology. And maybe trying to find its spaceship here to go to moon. You have to fight through this dungeon. Kind of have the whole picture in my head right now, and I hope you guys are seeing that too. Laha, Lahi. La Habrea is going to involve in the new high-end dungeon. Really interesting. Like I said before, they're really trying to bring him back. And how can they bring him back? Pandemonium. Now, Pandemonium is really significant in the Final Fantasy universe. Pandemonium is the final dungeon of Final Fantasy II, kind of like the representation of hell. If this is somewhere like an afterlife or a place for memory of the dead, kind of makes sense to have La Habrea there. It's the second to last area of Final Fantasy IX as well. But I'm pretty sure. Well, actually, there's one more. It's the last dungeon of Final Fantasy Zero as well. I don't. Once again, I don't know too much about the Final Fantasy Zero lore. I read up a little bit about it, but I don't think they're related. I'm pretty sure it's going to be related to Final Fantasy II Pandemonium more. If we're talking about somebody who's already dead, which is La Brea. I am going to do some more research and look into the final dungeon of Final Fantasy II, and so should you. I mean, I love Final Fantasy IX, but I don't think it's going to be the Final Fantasy IX Pandemonium. Trust system update. We have Estinian this time, which is amazing. I mentioned it earlier. So, this is where I get to Lise. I promise you guys will come back to Lise, right? They said that the reason why they need Estinian here is because they need to fill the role of a melee DPS. Why Estinian? Obviously, we talk about it, paying respect to Final Fantasy IV. But what about Lise? Why not Lise? Now, I get it. Lise left the Scion. I get that. But Estinian is also not officially in the Scion. I mean, he can possibly join the Scion later on in the story. Right. But hear me out. This is actually tied into the 5.5 live letter. The new dungeon, a screenshot of the new dungeon they show is Azimstab being on fire. I mean, that scared the crap out of me. I love Azimstab. It's one of my favorite area in Stormblood. The peace that comes with it, the never-ending plain of grass. It's and the tribe, the backstory. Some of the tribe just really, really peaceful people. Um, Seeing their tribe and their town be on fire is really heartbroken for me. How is it all related to with each other, right? They also relate to what I said earlier. When the map is being shown on fire in the teaser, where the fire is being spread from Far East and then slowly coming to Eorzea. I believe that, Lise is closest to there right now, so she probably goes there to help. And considering how every expansion, at the end of the expansion cycle, something big happened. And let's not forget that that's how Lee's older sister Ida died as well. She stayed behind and fought to her last breath to make sure that everybody leaves safely. And in this case, maybe she's doing the same as her older sister, so they can retreat back to Eorzea safely. I love Lise. I really hope she doesn't die. But with all of those things combined that I think about, uh, there is a high chance she will die. I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, tell me in chat or comment section below. Ghost Sorcerer update. They didn't want to tell us any info right now. But with the love they're showing to Final Fantasy X here and there, I have a lot of reason to believe that this is going to be a Blitzball mini game. I know a lot of people hate Blitzball, but also a lot of people love it too. I am one of the people who really love Blitzball. Yeah, sure, it's really tough in the beginning, building your team, and I believe that's where it turned off most people in the beginning. But it was still a lot of fun when you get your team going. Actually, there's one big thing here. It's how it's going to affect the economy. I mean, the big part of the economy is that people having a house are able to do gardening and, grow things, and those things sells for a lot. Now everybody can do it. 6.1 Ishgard, amazing. I've been doing Ishgard restoration for a long time. I got the Saint of the Firmament for armor on Cactar. I'm really happy about that, and finally, it's here. I helped build this. This is so cool. Better system adjustment, the downscaling the values. It's not really concerning to me. I mean, yeah, sure, I'm a DPS. I love seeing big number. But there's one big thing about this downscaling values is they mentioned that it's going to be harder for you to clear earlier content. So get your farm on now. Now. You want to farm all the old primals now. Get all the mounts now. It's going to be tougher. So yeah, do it before Endwalker shows up. Alright, so thank you for watching. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel and give this video a thumb up. And also, I have some other videos coming too. I have like 5.3 reaction video I haven't uploaded yet. I just feel like I kind of like went out of control, get too emotional, so it's just kind of too embarrassing to upload it. But if you guys want to see that, let me know in the comment sections. And also, if I miss anything or you see something that I didn't mention here that you think nobody would notice, also leave down your comment down below. Thank you so much. I also stream once in a while, so far about once a week, but I also have like as a maid cafe, we have other maids streaming from time to time too. So come over to our Twitch channel, hit the follow button, tune in, and yeah, thank you so much. See you guys later.